Hello and welcome to my F1 Challenge 99-02 career. I'm your host Thomas Wood, and today we are going to be doing the 1998 Australian Grand Prix, the first race of our F1 Challenge career mode. So as you can see, this is my driver profile screen. We'll be updating this and showing you every race. Then before the start of qualifying, our full name there as well, date of birth, makes us 19 at the start of 1998. British-Polish nationality, but will be representing Great Britain throughout the career mode. Our reputation there, as we'll see in the news section, our reputation is not the best, but we'll see if we can improve that throughout the career. We're under contract for 8 races with Tyrrell, which was in real life their last. 1998 was their last year in the sport. However, we'll be seeing if we can change that throughout the course of this career. We have an 8-race contract, but there is an option for extension. So we'll have until round 8 of the season to decide whether I or Tyrrell will want to keep me. Our position in the team is full-time driver. We'll see who our teammate is in just a couple seconds. Our team objective is to beat Stewart and Minardi. Of course, so far we have no entries because we have not started Australia just yet. No points, poles, podiums, wins, fastest laps, and no retirements either. Hopefully we'll be getting the entries up first. Maybe we'll get some points later down the line depending on how crazy the races are, and then in a couple seasons time hopefully we'll be getting those poles, podiums, wins and all that stuff. Hopefully to keep those retirements low, however, as retiring from a race is not ideal. As you can see, we've highlighted Australia because that is where we are going to be racing today. But next time we'll be moving on to Brazil, then Argentina, San Marino, Spain, Monaco, Canada, France, and after France is where our contract will expire. Then we'll go to Britain, Austria, Germany, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, the Luxembourg Grand Prix, which technically takes place in Germany, same with San Marino, which is in Italy, but you know. Then the one change we've made to this calendar is that in real life the Portuguese Grand Prix was meant to feature on the calendar. However, it was dropped after the circuit refused to pay the money to upgrade the circuit to the modern safety standards. However, we're just going to say that they did do that, and in this universe Portugal is on the calendar at Tyrrell. And then finally we'll be finishing off at the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka before hopefully moving on to 1999. So we'll just move into the entry list and the news section just now. As you can see, there are the drivers and teams, and we'll let the news section speak for itself. There have been a multitude of changes in the driver transfer market. The biggest name to be moving teams is Damon Hill. The 1996 world champion has moved to Arrows, or had moved to Arrows after being dropped from Williams following his championship victory. And for this year, he switches teams once again. This time he moves to the Jordan team, replacing Giancarlo Fisichella with Ralf Schumacher as his teammate. Speaking of Fisichella, he moves to Benetton, replacing Jean Alesi. Fisichella will be driving alongside Alexander Wurz. Wurz had previously drove for Benetton in 1997 when he replaced the injured Gerhard Berger, scoring a shock podium at the British Grand Prix. Berger retired at the end of 1997, so he leaves the keys to his seat open for his Austrian compatriot. Jean Alesi, meanwhile, has moved to Sauber to partner Johnny Herbert. Sauber had a multitude of drivers in the second seat in 1997, first using Nicola Larini before he was replaced by Gianni Morbidelli, and finally Norberto Fontana came in for 3 races in the middle of the year, and for the final race following an injury for Morbidelli. Sauber will be hoping that the signing of Alesi can bring some stability to the Swiss team. Prost have kept on Olivier Panis for another year, following his leg injury in 1997 taking him out of a large chunk of the season, while alongside him was his stand-in driver Jarno Trulli. Arrows, following Damon Hill's departure, have signed Mika Salo from Tyrrell to partner existing driver Pedro Diniz, while Stewart have retained their lineup of Rubens Barrichello and Jan Magnussen for 1998. The same applies for Ferrari and Williams, with the prancing horses re-signing Michael Schumacher and Eddie Irvine, while Williams retain their championship-winning pairing of John Newhouse and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Tyrrell have signed 2 rookies to drive their cars for 1998, both bringing in large sums of money from sponsorships. Teranosuke Takagi graduated from his test driver role in 1997 to a full race seat, bringing money from Japanese car parts manufacturer Pia. While on the other side of the garage, Polish-British driver Thomas Wood has been signed. clearly due to his sponsorship money from menthol cigarettes Cool. Wood has had a lackluster junior career so far, having not won a title, nor come close to one, since he left karting. And last but certainly not least, Minardi signed Shinji Nakano, who was left without a seat following his year at Prost, and Esteban Tyrrell, an Argentine young gun, who, by starting the 1998 Australian Grand Prix, will become the third youngest driver in F1 history. An all-new rules package has been introduced for 1998, with narrower cars and grooved tyres, meaning a significant reduction in downforce across the field. Reports from the various pre-season tests show that McLaren looked to have the fastest car, with Ferrari not too far behind. However, the biggest shock was rumours that reigning champions Williams had been dropped the ball for this year, and don't look to be in the hunt even for race wins. We'll have to monitor how Williams do throughout the season. Hopefully they can get back on winning form. But now we will move straight to qualifying for the 1998 Australian Grand Prix. Well, here we are then, for qualifying for the 1998 Australian Grand Prix. Thomas Wood making his debut for Tyrrell, of course, as we heard in the news. We're just exiting the pits on our first run in qualifying. Session has just started. And we'll be seeing how well we can do in both qualifying and the race, of course, as is the goal. This is a voiceover, if you can't tell. I'm not actually live commentary. I did try to do a live commentary, but it wasn't very successful. Because some issues with the audio files. I don't know why. It sounded like beeps and boops. Because I recorded it on tracks 3 and 4, so I could separate it when I needed to and like drop it into the live commentary and do some VO in the other parts. But we're just going to do a VO over the edited segment of the video, and then maybe I'll upload an uncut, just without talking version of the race as well, and that'll be you won't be able to. It's not coming out yet. I'll probably release it tomorrow. But we're just on our out lap here. It's raining, as you can see, in qualifying, which meant that I wanted to get out there as soon as possible before the track got too wet to set a banker lap. And a multitude of other drivers came out. I think Eddie Irvine for Ferrari came out as well. But as you'll see, there'll be a recurring theme that happens. In fact, 2 recurring themes that happen during the race. I also have prepared a list of talking points, so if we ever get some dull moments, we can fill the time with those. But yeah, just starting our first flying lap here in qualifying. We can run you through the lap here. Turn 1 and 2 are a reasonably high speed chicane here, with the second corner opening up onto this second straight down Orty Drive, I believe it's called, into turn 3. This is a very fun corner normally. Not so much on this game due to the handling of these cars, shall we say. Into turn 4 now. Very hard to judge what speed you want to take through there. Turn 5, almost flat out in these cars, not quite though, especially not in these conditions. You can brake a lot later than you think you can for this chicane, as I actually brake too late there and go off the track. But yeah, you can brake later than you think into that chicane. Coming up now to the bit that they removed in 2022 or 2021. This chicane here, I do quite like that chicane, opening onto the back straight here. Down, I believe it's Lakeside Drive, I think it's called. I can't remember, honestly. Should have checked the track map before I started this. Anyway, into the turn, it's 11 and 12 fast chicane, I think it is, or is it 10, 11? As I go off the track there, on the exit of it. And that's something the AI were doing during the race as well, going off the track there, but they had no problems with it, so I don't know, I tried to avoid it. Turn 13 will become a, that one there will become a real trouble spot for me later in the race, as we'll see. Turn 14 there, pretty fun corner when you get it right. Turn 15, once again, that'll be another issue corner. As you can see, I was already oversteering through the mid corner. Onto the final corner. Make sure you don't hit the wall on the exit, and then that's a lap of the Albert Park circuit in Australia. So yeah, that was my banker lap. It was a 1:43.6, as you saw. I went off a couple times. I don't know if I'm going to show the rest of this lap, but yeah, I went for another run. It's meant to the extra lap of fuel here is meant to be for my in lap, but I ignored that. I just went for another lap because it's a game and I can do what I want. So yeah, currently P4. However, many drivers having not set a lap. As you can see there, Irvine on provisional pole, like I mentioned. He's one of the drivers that went out first to try and get a lap in. But yeah, I must say that this Tyrrell car I'm driving looks very nice. I do quite like the livery, especially Takagi's highlights. The green highlights that Takagi's car has is very nice. I'm driving in place of Ricardo Rosset, who drove this car in real life. He has the orange highlights, which I don't like as much, but they're still quite nice. Still good livery. Heading through T11 and 10 and 11 this time, no problems through there, or no visible ones anyway. The fuel warning light coming on, of course, because we don't have enough fuel to complete another lap after this. Whoa, getting very wayward there through turn 13. Yeah, that'll happen quite a lot during the race, as we'll see. But heading now into the final couple corners, we've got a Minardi in front of us there. I don't know which one that was. But around the final corner, I don't know if I improved on this lap. I don't think I did, or maybe I did. I don't know. Coming up to the line, it's a 139.9. So yes, I did improve. Puts us up to P4 provisionally. Of course, many drivers having not set a lap. And as we see there, I check all the other cars and I switch to intermediates. Well, I say check all the other cars. I check Michael Schumacher. He's going on to intermediates, but then I look at the other cars and they're on dries. So I was very confused at this point. I was wondering, could I do another lap on slicks or could I do another lap on the intermediates? In the end, I decided to go on the intermediates because obviously the conditions were changing. And I'd assumed that the cars on slicks had gone out before it was intermediate conditions and they hadn't come in to change yet. So here we go, out of the lap of the garage for my second run in qualifying. Into the first chicane on the outlap. Just testing out the conditions. You see, definitely a lot wetter than it was when I first went out for my first run on the dries. And then coming into this corner here, we make one of the first of our many spins throughout the weekend. I try and get it spun round, get a little bit of a wrong way warning, and then the Minardi here comes down my inside. I let him pass, obviously, because that would be nice. And then I try and go around his outside here, and I just spin into the wall. No grip on the outside of that corner there. I checked the car, and it was fine. Just no major damage. Just decided to bring it into the pits because there's no point trying to waddle around with a damaged car. So at this point, I decided to fast forward through the session. Because I saw on the projected conditions there that it said overcast. So I assumed that it would dry up later on. See me there switching to softs. In anticipation of it getting drier. In fact, it didn't. So I went out again on the intermediates. Once again spinning on my outlap there at that second to last corner. As you can see, there is a dry line forming. So it was definitely clearing up, but there didn't seem to be any visible raindrops, but this would be my final run because I wouldn't have enough laps to do another run, because back in 1998 you were limited to 12 laps in a qualifying session. Only one session instead of the Q3, Q2, Q1 format we have now. I say that the other way around, Q1, Q2, Q3 of course. But yeah, back then it was just a one hour long session with a limit of 12 laps, including in and out laps. So I think that's 4 flying laps in total. Unless you're like me and it's a game and you don't have to do in laps. So, yeah. See, just testing out the conditions once again. I was expecting the grip offline to be a lot worse than it actually was, but the grip offline seemed to be alright. And then, but obviously I can't feel anything because I use a gamepad to record and drive these videos. So I wasn't getting any feeling through that because the vibration doesn't seem to work. But yeah, this is my flying lap now. I've just noticed. But yeah, we're heading into the T11, 10-11 chicane here. Like I say, I wasn't feeling any of the conditions, but it seemed to be alright. So heading into the problematic spot T13 here. Managed to get the corner right this time. Michael Schumacher currently on provisional pole position with a 1:32.1. I had no hope of getting anywhere near that. I believe this was actually my fastest lap in qualifying. So, yeah. Coming around the final corner here, down to cross the line, it was a 1:39.791. As you can see, I've used up my allotted lap, so it cuts back to the garage, which I think is a very nice feature of F1 Challenge 99-02. Considering it's a game from 2003, this game has not only a lot of modding capability, as we can see, we're driving a season that didn't exist in this game originally, but also there's just the little touches like that once you finish your qualifying laps, that it cuts to a cinematic shot and then brings you to the garage instead of forcing you to come back or just simply just taking you back there. It's a lot nice. It's very nice, and lots of quality of life features that are definitely missing from the modern F1 games, including the modability. If you're aware of the F1 Challenge VB mod, then obviously they've created every single season of F1 on there. I mean, admittedly with varying quality and with a large file size, but hey, my Assetto Corsa folder is like 200 gigabytes, so it's nothing to me. Anyway, with 3 minutes to go now in qualifying, I was in P20, but then as we'll see there, in just a second, Shinji Nakano manages to set a lap just as the session dies, and I end up starting P21 for qualifying, with Takagi just ahead of me in 20th. So we're going to head to the grid now.
Hello there. Welcome to Australia. 50-50 are the chances of the weather changing, so it'll be the teams that react best that will top the times. Coulthard first. Brenson second. Michael Schumacher third. Jean Lacey fourth. Mika Hakkinen fifth. Johnny Herbert sixth. Irvine seventh. Hill eighth. Fisichella ninth. Wirtz 10th. Ralph Schumacher 11th. Jack Villeneuve 12th. Jarno Trulli 13th. Barrichello 14th. Panis 15th. 16th. Pedro Diniz 17th. Mika Salo 18th. 19th. Takagi just got the edge over his teammate. He starts from 20th. 21st. 22nd.
Here we are there on the grid for the 1998 Australian Grand Prix, starting in P21. The five red lights are on, and the lights are off, and the race is on. We're underway for the 1998 season. Already there's been a crash there between Jarno Trulli and Ralph Schumacher of the Jordan, and those drivers are both out already, as I send it up the inside of multiple cars there into turn 1, up to 17th already. That's one thing I was very confused about on lap 1 as we get past Panis now. And then Tyrrell up ahead, is that on lap 1 the cars are brake very early, so I was able to gain a load of positions here. Here we go on Salo as well as Tyrrell, almost getting past the arrows there. However, that did get better later, and they did brake at the normal places. Just on lap 1 they were very odd. Anyway, so here we are in little gaggle of cars here. Nakano, I think that is, ahead of Salo, and Tyrrell instead of me and Salo. And just getting past Mika Salo there. Tried to go for it on Shinji Nakano, however couldn't get past into this chicane now. Not able to get past there, but with the superior straight line speed of the Ford engine in this Tyrrell, it beats out the Ford Metal engine of that Minardi, and we get up into 13th place off the start, which would be a very impressive first lap. With Barrichello up ahead, he's about 2.7 seconds ahead. Heading into T13 now. Can we negotiate this corner first? The first time? Well, no, we can't. We go off the road there and we have a little bit of a spin. Not the first time this has happened, of course, and not the last time it will happen, as we get past by Tora Takagi there and down into 17th. Takagi, of course, my teammate, and this obviously I was not too happy about, so I pushed very hard from here until getting back a couple positions, as we'll see here. Very aggressive on Takagi, slipstreaming him down the main straight as we head on to lap 2. Going alongside into turn 1, a little bit of contact there with my teammate, but nothing that would cause any damage with the physics on this game. But heading into T3, decisive late braking manoeuvre, take the apex of the corner and up ahead of Takagi into 16th place. Skipping forward later in the lap now, through the T11, 10-11 chicane, the fast chicane of course. Got Tyrrell up ahead now. We've dropped Takagi by about 2 seconds in just the space of that lap, so that's very impressive pace from us there. And we are still trying to make up places after that spin on lap 1, of course. Got Tyrrell, we're gaining rapidly on the Minardi driver. Have a little bit of a moment there through the second to last corner, like we did in qualifying, and getting very close through the final corner there to the back of that Argentine Minardi. Well, I say Argentine, the driver's Argentine, but the team is Italian. Nevertheless, we are passed into turn 1 on lap 3, and that is Tyrrell dispatched of. Up next will be Nakano. Skipping forward later in the lap once again, later in lap 3, and we are all over the back of Nakano now. The Japanese driver for Minardi. We've already dispatched of his teammate. Can we go for it into T13? We know there's been a bit of a problem spot for us, but little bit of a moment there, but we are able to get past and up into P14 now, which is would be very impressive on debut, I must say. As we now skip to lap 5, we've dropped Nakano by 7 seconds. Salo's up ahead by about 11 seconds. However, we do have a little bit of a spin there at turn 13 once again. Bumped the wall slightly on the spin around once again. I almost called a pit stop, but then I realised no, the damage isn't too bad. I can wait this out until our pit stop. I didn't explain, but our strategy for this race is a 2-stop race. We're going to go 18 laps on our first stint, then 20 laps on the next 2 stints to the end. So I thought there that we had a fair amount of damage as we go off once again at turn 3 this time on lap 6. So I thought that the damage wasn't too bad and that I could continue to the next stop. Which indeed was the correct call, I think, because otherwise it would have put us out of sync with the other runners. As we now skip to lap 9, go heading on into T13 once again. I can only guess at what's going to happen here. Is it a spin? Oh yes, it is. And as we go off there, seems to be our favourite blue gravel trap, that one. The problem I had with this is that now I was losing time to Nakano. We even go off at T14 there now as well. The knock-on effect of going off track means you make more mistakes. But yeah, I was losing time to Nakano, which was the problem. Was not too great. But however, here on lap 15 now, we were being caught by Olivier Panis. But the pressing issue I had at Mata was that we were already being lapped by the McLaren of David Coulthard, who led off the start. So, yeah, not the best race pacers, clearly, which wasn't the fault of me, I don't think. I was the fastest of the backmarker teams, as far as I could make out. So as we go off there on turn 1 of lap 16, yeah, I was the fastest of the backmarkers. Tyrrell, Minardi, and I think one of the stewards of Magnussen as well was in that group. But as we can see now, after the lap 1 chaos, finally Olivier Panis has caught up to the back of us, and he's trying to pass us now. I figured that I could defend here and keep Panis behind just for a couple laps at least. However, as we would find out, this was not to be, for whatever reason. Heading up into the chicane, the third chicane on this track, chronologically. So yeah, I was driving with my mirrors, definitely, looking in the, there you go, looking back there, seeing where Panis is. Heading into T11-12, I do go wide, and the pressure of Panis definitely got to me there, and Olivier Panis in the Prost is past me. But nevertheless, we continue on in P15 now. Heading into T13, no issues there this time though. Was definitely still trying to chase down Panis though, learning what we could from the AI's racing lines, seeing where I could improve. Clearly not there, because I went off at T15. And then Panis just left me for the dust there. But we did have a 40-second gap to Nakano behind, skipping forward a lap now. Yeah. As we head on to lap 18 now. This was my pit lap, of course, as we see there, requesting the pit stop. So yeah, this will be our first of 2 pit stops. I decided to go for the shorter first stint to have lighter fuel off the start to make up places. That seemed to pay off reasonably, except for the mistakes, of course. Heading now into the third sector. Very odd third sector there, and whoa! We have a very big off there at the T10-11 chicane. Luckily managed to keep it out of the barriers. I think that was my biggest scare of the whole race, honestly. That was definitely one of the moments that I could have been out of the race there on the spot. However, I was able to keep the car going. Heading towards the pit lane for my first stop of the day. We had a 44-second gap back to Nakano, so we wouldn't lose any positions. Yeah, coming into the first stop now for the pit lane. This little chicane here at the pit lane, been removed since, but I do quite like the chicane. It's very fun to navigate. Into the pit box now. Tyrrell mechanics servicing me, putting new tyres on, and putting in 20 laps of fuel, 85 litres. Meaning that we can go to lap 38, which will be our second pit stop time. So, heading to the end of the pit lane now. Of course, I said we wouldn't lose any positions, and indeed we didn't. However, we did get lapped by a couple of the front runners. I think there's a Benetton and a Ferrari up front there. Or maybe that's a Williams. That is one of the problems with the 1998 cars, is that the Ferrari and the Williams do look very similar. As whoa, on lap 19 there, we do go off. I think that's turn 5. Now we're being lapped by, that's a Benetton up front as well, and a Sauber. Having to let these cars past. Of course, after the Japanese Grand Prix of 1997, blue flag rules where you have to get out of the way of the car were introduced. I believe it was after then anyway. Please correct me if I'm wrong. As we have a spin now on lap 20 into turn 3. Definitely a new one for me, that one. Hadn't spun there yet. But nevertheless, we continued on. Of course. Because why would we stop from a spin? Whoa, going off there at turn 5 as well. And now having blue flags from the car behind. That is the Arrows. I think it was Mika Salo. But as you can see, the gap ahead of me to Olivier Panis was 53 seconds. So I was definitely nervous that I was going to get lapped by the car ahead of me in just a second. Heading into T13 now. Yep, you guessed it. It's another spin. This time quite far off into the gravel trap there. Definitely losing me more positions than it could have. More time, sorry, than it could have. Didn't lose any positions from it, of course. But yeah. Lap 20 of 58. We're 18 laps till our next pit stop. Only 2 after our first one. Skipping forward to lap 21 now. Into turn 3 we go. Little bit of a lag spike there, and we have another spin. I don't think it was as a result of the lag spike though. But yeah. As we can see at the bottom there, it was Coulthard who led from Mika Hakkinen. I think it was anyway. Or was it Michael Schumacher at this point? I can't remember. And this is one of the problems I had during the race, as we have another off there at T13, is that I wasn't able to get any replays of anything that happened during the race, which I guess isn't too much of a bad thing, because we are focusing on me and my career, but it would be nice to know what happened during the race. I don't imagine it was too much anyway, but there's definitely probably some interesting battles going on, as now we have blue flags from the car behind. And then Nakano is not too far behind us as well there. I think that is Rubens Barrichello. But yeah, I couldn't get any replays because I record this on a laptop using a gamepad, of course, as I mentioned. And my laptop doesn't have a number pad. And in this game, the controls in a replay to switch positions is the plus and minus button on a numpad. So unless I got the virtual keyboard up and had that up constantly, I could not change positions during a replay, and there's no way to rebind those keys either. Because obviously the game from 2003, you wouldn't expect it to be run on a laptop, you expect it to be run on a personal computer, which obviously would have a numpad. That is one of the limitations of this game. You can't reassign certain keybinds. As you saw there, I had a moment, and I've been passed by Shinji Nakano. We're on lap 23 now. So obviously I was not too pleased at that, and I made a decisive move here into turn 3 to get back past the Japanese driver and back up into 15th. With still a long way to go in this race, but I was pretty confident that I could retain that 15th place until the end. So yeah, I must say I did enjoy making this career mode, as there we have another off. Oh, and we've hit Nakano. So Nakano losing his front wing there. I almost requested pit stop. I thought I had front wing damage. I was actually fine. Once again, it was just a case of minor damage that I could just wait to the pit stop to repair. Getting past Nakano finally. Certainly was kind of odd, but now we had a 33-second gap to Tyrrell behind, as we have blue flags from I think that's is that a BAR? Not a BAR, sorry, they come in next year. That's the McLaren. I think that's Coulthard lapping us for the second time, the race leader at this stage. We have more blue flags now, as I have a little bit of moment there through turn 3. We're on lap 25 now. And that is Olivier Panis, the car in front of me, trying to lap me. Not the best luck, certainly, but we do what we do. I think that's just the car's fault. I don't think it was my pace issue, even though I was having these mistakes, as we can see. Letting past the Ferrari there. I think it was Eddie Irvine, but no way of knowing. There's a Williams in that not too pleasing to the eye Winfield livery. Certainly I prefer the Rothmans livery from 1997 and behind. But anyway, moving to lap 26 now. Little bit of a moment there through turn 3. But anyway, whoa, Olivier Panis had lost his rear wing there. Yeah, I completely forgot about this. That happened during the race. Yeah, so Panis had lapped me, the car in front, and then he lost his rear wing for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. I think he collided with a front runner. But then, if the AI lose their rear wing in this game, they're out of the race. I mean, the player could change their rear wing, but the AI can't, and that meant that Olivier Panis was out of the race. Promoted me up to 14th place eventually, after completing another lap, because he was another lap ahead of me, of course. But yeah, up to 14th, which is certainly very good for Tyrrell performance, but obviously we would wanted to have wished for more. As here's Panis. I tried to go for it into turn 13, not able to get past him there though. Would have to hang back through turn 14 as well, because it would be quite a silly move to make down on the outside of that corner. But finally we do get past, getting blue flags from him of course, but he would enter the pit lane, which would not negate the blue flag of course, because he came in to retire. This meant that I believe it was Mika Salo ahead of me instead of Panis, more than a lap ahead of course. But yeah, still had a 40-second gap to Tyrrell behind, so we could make a pit stop and we'd be completely fine. See there, getting past Panis finally, and it was indeed Salo ahead of us, over a lap ahead. Moving to lap 38 now for our second pit stop of the day, or second and final pit stop of the day. We had over a minute gap to our teammate Takagi, as I believe the Minardi of, I think it was Tyrrell pits a couple laps previous. But yeah, heading on into our second pit stop now, almost having a moment there into turn 15, the penultimate corner. But we managed to save it into the pit lane now, navigating this little chicane here, and into the pit box for the Tyrrell crew to serve us once again. Tyrrell crew doing a very good job there. Exiting the pit lane, that was, I believe, the I believe that's Jan Magnussen in the Stewart there, as we get lapped once again by Mika Salo. So we're now 2 laps behind the next car in front of us, with 20 laps to go in the race. But we had a 42-second gap back to our teammate Teranosuke Takagi, or Tora if you want to call him that. At this point I was pretty confident that unless we had some sort of mechanical failure that I could finish the race, as we have blue flags now from the car behind. And that is a Williams. I believe it's Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but I've no way of knowing. So yeah, I certainly very much enjoyed making this race, as we have another spin there. But yeah, I definitely very much enjoyed making this race, as I believe that is the Stewart of Jan Magnussen that I was talking about earlier. I believe he was a lap behind me, even. I think he was, yeah, he was, that would have been 3 laps down on the lead, I think. As you can see, it was getting a little bit overcast here. You might have heard in the pre-race introduction that the commentator said that it was 50-50 whether it would be wet or dry. Luckily it stayed dry throughout the race, just was a little bit cautious of the weather, certainly. I had enough gap back to the car behind that I could make 2 pit stops if necessary, if I did the wrong strategy. As we let past a multitude of cars there that were lapping us. Almost having a moment through T10-11, using the line that the AI do there. Almost having a crash with the wall as well. Luckily I managed to save it. But yeah, I very much enjoyed making this race. I certainly want to create more of these, even if the editing wasn't the most fun thing to do. Definitely has taken me all day to make this. Yeah, but as we let past the, I think that's a Benetton. Yeah, it is. Fisichella or Verts or Vorts or whatever you want to call him, or Vorts. I don't know how you say it. But yeah, I'll definitely be making more of these. What the schedule is, I'm not sure. Whether it'll be once a week or once every 2 weeks, or maybe we'll never do this again. Who knows? Maybe we'll do it once a month. I think that'd be a good compromise for my own mental well-being, as well as your satisfaction. As we have a little bit of an off there on T3, it's lap 47 and 58 now. Obviously I wasn't going to complete all the 58 laps, but yeah, because obviously we're gonna lose at least 2 laps because we were 2 laps behind Mika Salo. As we have a little bit of an off there into the fast chicane. But yeah, letting past, I think it was a Ferrari in that thing. 11 laps to go now. Do I have a little bit of an off here at T3? Yes, I do. Oh, nearly spun it as well, but I managed to save it. I was definitely learning the tricks of the car throughout the race. Was making less and less mistakes as time went on. Despite what the clips suggest. Obviously I'm cutting out large parts here just to save time. Admittedly, it is still quite a long video. One of the longest I've made. In fact, I think it is the longest currently on this channel. But yeah, letting past a Sauber there. As I pause for whatever reason. I think I was going to cut that out, but never mind. Not going to go back and edit it now, no. Through T10-11, not as fast as I would have liked there, but I think the key point was to make it to the end of the race at this point. So drifting it through T13 there, but and off at T14 as well. Wow. But yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to do more of these. But definitely the themes of this race were needing to improve my consistency, not making mistakes, and the pace of the car not being the best. But with 10 laps to go now, P14 still 54 seconds back to Shinji Nakano, 55 now, and over 2 laps ahead is Mika Salo. As we can see there at the bottom, it's Coulthard who led from Hakkinen, Michael Schumacher in third, rounding off the podium. Then it was Heinz-Harald Frentzen for Williams, and the other two in the points, because obviously top 6 points at this time, for those who don't know. The other two in the points so far behind that doesn't get registered on the graphic. Very realistic, that graphic, I must say. Definitely off period. But yeah, just once again the sky looking kind of overcast. But like I say, no rain ever did come. I never had to change my strategy. But yeah, certainly very fun. One of the main points going into this race, I forgot to mention in the news actually, is that Renault leaving F1, as we have a little bit of an off there at T13, managed to keep it on though. But yeah, one of the main points of the what's the word, of F1 going into 1998 is that yeah, Renault leaving F1, both Benetton and Williams were supplied, had Renault engines supplied to them. In fact, Williams even won the title with a Renault engine in 1997. In fact, I think 96 as well, with Hill. But yeah, Renault decided to leave F1 following 1997. I think it was due to a company restructuring. But yeah, they decided to leave due to a company restructuring, like I say. So Williams ended up using rebadged Renault engines, badged as a Mechachrome, who developed those engines in partnership with Renault. And Benetton just simply renamed the engine after one of their clothing divisions. I think it's called Playlife, as we have an off there at that chicane. Once again, a little bit of a lag spike and letting back past the Williams. See, back pass, lapping it, probably letting it lap me for the third time. But yeah, lap 50, 58 now, 9 laps to go. Well, 9 laps for the leaders to go when they were on lap 58. At the most, 7 laps to go, I think it is. Yeah, it would be 2 laps ahead behind Sarlo. So yeah, P14 still, of course. At this point, I was definitely feeling the pain of having to hold a controller for 2 hours. I was definitely getting lots of hand pain, but obviously I stuck it out to the end because content. But yeah, hands definitely hurt quite a bit. I had to take a couple breaks to exercise my hands. Obviously I cut those out because that's not the it's just me being paused and stretching my hands that you can't see, of course, because I've got the face cam on today. But yeah, I believe that other than the Ralf Schumacher and Trulli incident off the start, the only other retirement was Olivier Panis. Oh no, sorry, Pedro Diniz went out as well. I'm not sure when Pedro Diniz retired, but he did. Might have been a gearbox issue. It wasn't listed at the race results, as we'll see. But yeah, the 4 retirements were Schumacher, Trulli, Diniz, and Panis in that order of retiring. As we have another off track there at the chicane. Story of the race, really. Story of my life, honestly. I think that's a McLaren passing us there. 6 laps to go now for the leaders, as we have another off at T13. Wonderful stuff. You'll love to see it. Managed to keep it out of the barriers this time though, which was always the best thing to do. But yeah, at this point, I was wondering how many laps I did actually have left. As we saw there, it's the McLaren of Mika Hakkinen going through, and he's on the final lap. So I decided to let him pass and let this race end, because he'll cross the line to take the checker flag, and I'll cross the line to come home behind him, and we'll finish P14 there in the race. So it was definitely very unexpected into the race, but it nevertheless ended there. So it was David Coulthard who won the race. In real life, it was Mika Hakkinen who won ahead of his teammate. But in this universe, the roles are reversed. Mika Hakkinen did get the fastest lap, however, I believe. But Michael Schumacher rounded off the podium. And then I believe it was Heinz-Harald Frentzen of Williams who was in 4th place. Yes, and then it was the other Ferrari of Eddie Irvine. And rounding out the points was the Jordan of Damon Hill. Hill scoring points on his debut for Jordan. Certainly the start he will have wanted after only scoring, I think it was like 9 points for Arrows the previous year in 1997. As there you go, see Frentzen, long way back from the top 3 of Coulthard, Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher, the Michael, as Mika famously called him. And there is the winner of 1 hour and 30 minutes, average speed of 125 miles an hour. It's David Coulthard, your winner of the 1998 Australian Grand Prix. So if you did enjoy this video, everyone who finished to the end and watched to the end, thank you very much for doing so. And please be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know of any feedback you have of this race as the announcer reads out the first 6 finishing positions. Thank you for watching to the end, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.